Hello everyone, I am the Desert Gardener, and today we're going to be talking about watering. So I've got my tea, let's talk about that. So I've been seeing a lot of questions online where people are asking how frequently they should water their garden. Now this is really a bad idea because no one online knows your temperature, your humidity, your soil type, your container size, etc., etc. There's just simply too many options for them to know. To give you an extreme example, when I first started gardening, one of the first YouTube channels I subscribed to was a guy in England. Now he recommended watering once or twice a month. Now I live in the Mojave Desert. If I watered my garden once or twice a month, I wouldn't have a garden. So that's just simply not possible. And even if I asked my next door neighbor, his answer might be different as well. I water my tomatoes more than I water my peppers, and I water my peppers more than I water my houseplants. So there's just too many options. So you need to figure this out for yourself, and I'm going to show you how. So the first option is simply to feel the soil. Does it feel moist on top? If it does, then you're good. You don't need to water. Now, if it feels dry on top, you're going to need to find out if it's moist underneath. And the best way to do that is with the finger method. Just simply stick your finger in up to the second knuckle and feel if it's moist underneath. Stick it down in. If it's dry down there, then you definitely need to water. Now, do this to all your different plants and all the different areas of your home and garden. And over time, you're going to start to see a schedule. These plants over here need to be watered X number of times a week. Those over there, Y number of times a week. Write that down. Get yourself on a good schedule. Now, you may need to update that if the weather changes. So right now it's 60 degrees and just barely springtime, but in the middle of summer when it's 110, you might have to up your watering schedule a bit. Now, there are other ways to do it if you don't want to get your hands and fingernails dirty. For example, there's these devices here. I picked this up on the internet. It was just a few bucks. You just stick it in and set it to moisture, and it'll give you a little reading on how moist the soil is. Now, there are better qualities of one of these, so if this is a method you want to use a lot, you might want to consider getting a better quality one. But this one, for being just a few bucks, works pretty well. Now, another way to do it is with a mechanical device. Now, somebody once told me they had something that looked a lot like a metal candy cane, and they stick it in the soil, give it a twist, pull it out, and it has little notches in the side that brings out little bits of soil at various depths. And then you feel it, and you can tell how moist the soil is at different depths. Now, I thought this was a really cool idea, so I went online to get one, and was surprised that it was like 20 bucks. So I thought, I have an angle grinder, I have some metal rounds, I can make my own. And funny story, I was just heading out to the garage to do that when I noticed this sitting on my dining room table. Now, this is an irrigation pipe spike, and it's made by Dig, and you notice it has a bunch of little sort of alcoves around the side. So it works kind of the same way. I tried it out. You stick it in the soil, you give it a twist, pull it back out, and it brings up little bits of soil through various depths. And then you can feel it and see how moist it is underneath the soil. And this is really cheap. You can buy these individually for just less than $1 a piece. And if you've ever put in a drip system, you probably have a few laying around and you don't even realize it. So this is a really cheap way to do that. Now, once we figure out the frequency, we really need to talk about the duration, because that's actually more important, and it's something that a lot of people kind of overlook. Many plants like to grow their roots downward, and that's really a good idea, especially for us desert rats. So let's say, for example, that I have my sprinklers in my garden set to water just for a minute or two every day. What's going to happen is the tomato plant is going to send its roots outward instead of down, because that water isn't getting deep enough. So that may be fine in the springtime, but when it gets really hot, the plant isn't going to be able to keep itself cool because its roots are too close to the surface. You need to water deeply and let the plant get its roots going downward. And the best way to do that is water your garden before you plant in it, then wait about a half an hour, then dig a hole and see just how deeply that water went. If it didn't get down a foot or two, then you didn't water deep enough or long enough. So watering deeply is more important than how often you water. So if it gets, for example, if the weather changes and it starts getting cooler and you think, well, maybe I don't have to water as frequently, well, you should, don't change the duration, but change the frequency. So it's important to keep that watering deeply, keep the roots going downward, and that way the plant will better be able to survive when it gets hot. So instead of asking people online, just use your finger or a couple of tools and you'll be able to do it much better yourself. Well, hope this helps. If it did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. We're going to be planting our peppers in containers.